Hello and welcome to Tight Lines. Well, Keith's still away, so it's my turn to look after the show. And this week I've got some help from one of the most respected men in the business. John Bailey is a broadcaster, writer, professional guide, and perhaps most importantly, he's also a top angler. I'm really looking forward to the next hour as the two of us get the chance to talk about our sport. We'll be discussing the new Mr. Crabtree series, which sees John passing on his passion and knowledge to a modern-day Peter, as they share a summer's angling adventure together. And proof that all anglers are just big kids at heart, as John and I embarked on our own Mr. Crabtree adventure with a trip to a classic southern chalk stream, the wonderful River Itchen. Thanks for joining me, John. I think you've had a rather busy year, haven't you? What have you been up to?
I suppose Crabtree took up so much time, really. You know, I mean, it's only 6 episodes, but all the planning, choosing Peter. In the end, we decided to go with James, who was a cracking kid. So it has been a very hectic year.
And the difficulty with you, because you do so many other things, I mean, how have you managed to fit it all in?
I don't know. Because obviously, as you know, I do a fair bit of writing, a lot of consultancy work, a lot of guiding now, taking trips abroad and around the country and so on. So yeah, it's good not to be idle, I guess.
And also you like going fishing occasionally, I'm sure.
Oh, I love it. Don't we all? Yeah, I mean, it's especially at this time of the year, I just love these sort of still misty November days. You know, they really get me. Really
fantastic fishing in the autumn, isn't it? I love it too.
It is. It is.
OK, so just who or what is Mr. Crabtree? For anglers of a certain age, it was the fuel of our childhood dreams. Now, the famous books have been brought to life by John in a television series which is currently being shown on Sky Sports. And this is what it's all about.
60 years ago, artist and writer Bernard Venables, often heralded as the godfather of angling, created the classic cartoon strip that was to become the best-selling sporting book of all time. Mr. Crabtree Goes Fishing depicted the fictional Mr. Crabtree, who, along with his son Peter, embarked on a series of fishing adventures throughout the year.
Oh, he's a big fish.
I'm John Bailey, and I've been fishing for most of my life. As a youngster, the magic of Mr. Crabtree's stories enraptured and inspired me to get out on the bank and go fishing. And he has continued to inspire millions of angling fathers and generations of their children ever since. When I'm out fishing, writing about fishing, or just dreaming about fishing, Mr. Crabtree's boyish exuberance and lessons are never far from my thoughts. It's the beautiful sunsets and sunrises, the misty dawns, of time and nature passing by, being close to water, and then there is the anticipation and the spine-tingling rush as your fish takes a bait and your inner Mr. Crabtree shouts, "Strike!"
Yes, strike!
The spirit of Mr. Crabtree is what has inspired us as kids and what continues to inspire us for all of our lives.
Yahoo!
Because once an angler, you are eternally hooked. In this series, I'm fishing through the summer with James, a great young angler.
That's good enough for me.
A real adventure for him and a chance for me to relive my favourite boyhood memories, fishing every day of the holidays. Still trying out traditional and new techniques and always true to the Crabtree way. Join me, James, the Crabtree team and some angling guests along the way as we go summer fishing in the footsteps of Mr. Crabtree.
See you grinning away watching that little bit. I mean, it's part of angling history, isn't it? What was it like to be involved in making something that's so significant?
Heart-stopping in a way, you know, because when it was first put to me about 4 years ago, the idea of taking on Mr. Crabtree's mantle absolutely terrified me, as you can imagine. But, you know, both of us are Crabtree kids. We both grew up worshipping the ground that Mr. Crabtree trod upon. And so it was obviously something I couldn't say no to. But everybody's got their own private Crabtree, haven't they? You know, everybody has their own vision of what Crabtree was about. So I knew from the start I was always going to be on a bit of a loser. And I think I was always very keen, Andy, to say, I am not an actor. I'm not playing Mr. Crabtree. This is a homage to Crabtree. You know, we are just following in his footsteps.
OK, let's take a look at some of the action from the current series. I think this sequence captures the essence of Mr. Crabtree perfectly.
It's one of those beautiful sort of steel grey Crabtree, bream / tench mornings. I've been putting some rigs up, but you've seen bream moving already, haven't you?
Yeah, head and shoulders right out. It's only about 3 or 4.
That lovely slow movement, isn't it? I think we've seen 1 or 2 tench moving.
Yeah.
It's just the most beautiful morning. We've had action all the time on that far rod, and then that rod. Look, that rod's going a bit, isn't it? Hang on.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Are you sure?
Yeah. Gentle with him. Yeah. I'll go and get the net. What does he feel like, James?
It feels like a big one. Feels like a big one.
Well, we've seen some fish moving, haven't we?
Yeah.
I'd quite like my chest waders on, actually, because a very big fish can have trouble coming in over this shelf, but I'll worry about that when it gets closer, all right?
OK.
That's woken you up.
Yeah. Definitely.
That could be a tench.
I think it is. I think this is. Yeah, it is a tench.
Wow,
It's a tench.
fantastic.
Yes.
Fantastic.
This
I'll
is...
forgive you. I'll forgive you.
Oh, OK.
Keep him that way. Keep him that way. OK?
OK.
This could just be the perfect start for James today. OK, James, let's have a look at her. I've got a feeling that could conceivably be your PB. It wouldn't be mine necessarily, but I think you've just about done it. Pop her there. She's still fresh from the fight. Let's have a look at her. Let's have a look at her. She's spawned out. Just take that weed away. Oh, an immaculate fish. She is simply stunning. Look at those great big paddle tails, that glorious red eye.
Fishing from dawn until dusk is a great way for James to experience the water fully. So far the action's been a little spasmodic, but it looks like that's about to change.
Yeah, keep going. I just want to put bait in as... Oh, no, let's net this.
Is it a tent? No, it's a bream. It is a bream. We got
Fabulous! Look at him!
Look at that fish!
Beautiful fish. Beautiful
Oh,
fish.
look at that! Massive!
They're feeding hard.
Yeah, suddenly woken up, I think. Oh,
Unhooking map for that. There's some weight in there. That's a beautiful, beautiful fish.
Truly amazing.
Truly amazing.
Yeah.
Peter, I like that. Back she goes. It's a hot day.
As this bream of James's had been a little bit in the wars, we decide not to keep her out of the water any longer than necessary. Besides, we're confident that more will follow soon.
There we go.
I don't.
Yeah, go on.
I don't like it.
Enjoy yourself. I'll have the next one, all right?
OK, good.
I'll just go and get the net.
This feels like a better fish. I can feel it kicking.
Great. Actually, the rod is really bent. Could be a bigger tench.
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah, it's very possible.
This is developing into a nice morning.
It's just down there.
No, he's a big bream. Yeah, just try and keep him off that line. That's great. No, he's a super bream. Super bream!
Nice.
Good boy.
Yes.
Lovely colour. Let's get him on the map. What's your PB? 7.7? 7.8?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Let's see. I tell you what, James, as we're on a bit of a roll, I'll weigh it, you cast back.
Okay.
You know, when we've got bream in the swim, it makes sense just to really capitalise,
Okay.
yeah?
Okay.
It's the colour of this fish which is special.
Really dark, bronzy colour.
Sink the line, make sure the line's straight, yeah? Well, you know that, don't you?
Actually, you know what?
You're in?
Yeah.
Oh, hang on. I'm with you. I'm with you.
Why wouldn't it stop?
Let me just...
This is action.
This was 8, by the way.
That was in the water like 30 seconds.
I'm just going to put this back so we've... That's great.
What was it?
8.
Oh, and PB.
You see, it was a good job you weren't messing around with that. When there's action...
There's another bream.
Good boy.
Look at this.
Yay!
It was in the water 30 seconds. Not even
Brilliant. Was that the rod you cast out?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Oh, yes.
Bream for breakfast.
Yeah.
Aren't they stunners?
Yeah, they really are.
Aren't they ever stunners? Well, that looked like good fun, John. Crikey, what a day.
I mean, what the cameras don't show there is that we were really, really struggling because we'd got the crew up really early, and I'd hoiked James out really early as well. And we were expecting a lot of activity through the dawn, as everybody knows, you know, bream and dawns go together, and it was absolutely, totally fishless.
One of those mornings, yeah.
And Lester, the director, you know, I could see him really panicking, and the sun rose and the temperature rose, and I was thinking, oh my Lord, what are we going to do? And how we solved it, actually, was just sprinkling bits of bait constantly, so there was just a trickle, just a cloud going down. And suddenly, we began to get line bites, we began to see the bream roll, and then the film says the rest.
And the thrill of it, you know, you could see James's face. He's a superstar in the making, isn't he?
Oh, he's a lovely boy. He's a really... everything about him is just spot on, because he's a brilliant angler. I think through the summer, he developed as an angler, he developed his calm, if you like, in front of the cameras, but he was still the same lovely lad at the end of it as he was at the beginning. You know, he was just a joy to fish with. And in the end, you know, he just became a fishing mate. And I hope that came across, that, you know, I just couldn't think of a better guy to spend the day with.
Welcome back to Tight Lines. Now, John and I had never fished together until last week, when we wanted to get out on the bank before he came in here to the bothy. The plan was for us to indulge in some classic Mr. Crabtree fishing, trotting a stick float down a chalk stream for roach, chub and grayling. So, where better to take John than Southampton's Lower Itchen fishery? If only the weather gods had seen it our way. Well, John, this is the River Itchen, but not perhaps quite as we know it. There's an awful lot of water in, and it's a rather nasty colour. We've had so much rain the last couple of weeks, but I reckon we'll still catch something.
It looks absolutely mouth-watering.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah, I've seen Archie quivering with anticipation, and I'm much the same, to be honest.
Me too, yeah. Of course, we've got the roar of the M27 motorway behind us, and
it's very urban here,
it is very urban.
Yeah.
But once we cross over there and go underneath the motorway, you'll notice things are a little bit different. Here we are then, Mr. Bailey. As I said, as we come through that bit under the motorway, the Crabtree bit in me as a Crabtree kid, as somebody who read all the books as a young teenager wanting to go fishing, the sort of emerging gates of the Magic Kingdom into this. You'd never believe the motorway was just over there, would you?
I rather like that phrase, Magic Kingdom. I'm going to use that, I think. So we're really after Grayling here, I guess.
Yeah, and it's full of Grayling, this stretch. This particular long straight is you know, famous for it. It's where a lot of people tend to fish. The problem we've got today is the colour of the water. Normally, you can see the bottom. So I still think we've got a good chance of catching a few, but I think it might be a bit of an exercise in patience to try and wheedle a few out.
Yeah.
Keep the feed going in.
I think there's a real renaissance for centre-pin fishing. I mean, I know kids could be watching this and saying, oh, look at those two old greybeards, and it's all traditional mumbo-jumbo, but it completely isn't. I use, like you do, I use fixed bill reels all the time, but certain things, a centre-pin is just born for the job, isn't it?
Well, we're in. I'm not absolutely convinced this is a grayling. I think this might be something rather spotty. I don't know yet. Oh, no, it is. It's a grayling. Got one, John. It's not a huge fish, but perfect for these conditions. Look at that. He put a good account of himself. Go on, put your fin up. Thank you very much. Gorgeous. Look at that. Isn't that lovely? In these conditions, I've managed to purloin some of these fellas. Fluoro maggots.
Okay.
Bright pink. Grayling love pink because of the kind of the gamma shrimps that they eat contain a little tiny pink spot often. And I just find, especially when conditions are like this, especially when the water's coloured, if you add something that's got a little bit of a pink tint to it, you tend to pick up a few bites. It worked that time.
That's good thinking, because the grayling, especially this time of year, they will be living a lot on shrimps, which just do have that pink tinge to them. So let's see if it works. Whoops.
Sorry to do this to you, John.
Sorry?
That's a better fish too.
Just got another.
Like peas from a pod.
Another grayling?
Another grayling. Archie. Oh. Archie! Oh, no. There he is.
I've caught a fish. Well, it had to happen. Either this is a very big grayling or it's a trout. But it's difficult for me to judge really in this current because it's very... Oh!
That's why I love the Itchen so much. It's just full of these. There's a lot bigger ones in here as well, John.
Oh, I know. Got off. It was probably... It could have been a trout. What would a trout have done? Would it have...
Well...
It just... This felt just very heavy and just plodding up.
Bad news, that was a big grayling. But let's just see if I can wheedle one out. Not putting too many maggots in, then just let it run. That last one was way down the swim. There was a bite.
That was a flick, wasn't it?
And it may be just that's where they're sat, John. It's not, you know, see, such a long way down the swim. Fish on.
Fish on.
That feels like a nice grayling, actually.
That actually does look a good fish.
The 6th grayling I've caught this morning. It must just have landed on a shoal of them. They're all kind of 8, 9, 10 ounces. Ever so pretty. Perfect condition. Oh, did that bounce off then?
It did.
Oh, no.
Oh,
God.
That's 7.
You've bounced 7?
Yeah, I bounced 7.
Oh, John.
It's just one of those days.
Let's just try a little bit downstream, see if we can find a few more fish.
Exactly on the postage stamp. That's the spot.
Perfect.
Now it'll go down there, and that's the spot. That's the spot.
Oh, he's only done it too. Isn't that perfection?
Look at it.
John's off the mark with a salmon.
Over the moon.
Not
That
very
was
big.
worth a journey. Thank you. Top swim.
Gotta go. Yes.
Oh!
Sea trout.
Sea trout.
Oh.
Oh, it could be a salmon. It could be a salmon.
It's a little grayling.
It's a grayling!
Well, it's taken a while.
At least it didn't come off.
True.
Bless.
Look at this little fella, isn't he gorgeous? Oh. Tiny little Itchen grayling. Well done, Mr. Bailey.
Thank you, sir. I've gone and hooked myself now in excitement. You can come back and find me here in February, I should think, having that last cast. There we go, there we go. That's got to be it.
Yes. Yes. Fantastic. That's a nice fish. Please stay on, Mr. Grayling.
Please stay on.
Please stay on. Yeah, look at that. That's a pound grayling, isn't it?
I'm not saying a
Keeping
word. Is he a grayling? Or is he a... Yes, he's a grayling.
No, he's not.
He's a trout.
I don't believe it. Oh,
Never
no, you
mind.
can't believe
He's a pretty
it.
little sea trout.
Good Lord.
So salmon, sea trout and a grayling.
Lovely little river Itchen sea trout. Not quite a pound. Pretty fish though, isn't it? Now these things drive you mad because to catch one is an absolute privilege, and every time you try to catch them, you fail. And when you're trying to catch a grayling, guess what happens? Along comes a sea trout.
I don't care. He had my heart beating for at least 45 seconds.
There he
Bless him.
goes.
There he goes.
Shall we go and see if we can catch a great big roach now?
Let's do that.
Well, here we are, last knockings back at the weir pool. Look at the weather, isn't it disgusting? I'm really pleased we've caught some fish, but I just fancied we'd come back here and see if we could maybe pick up a barbel, or maybe, as you can see, John is fishing a little bit further downstream, trotting a stick float.
Yeah.
Just when you thought it was safe.
I'm thinking it might be a trout. But
Exciting.
you never know, do you? That's the beauty of these fisheries.
But there's all sorts in there, and it could be a barbel, could be a chub, could be an enormous roach. Nice to see a bend in the rod, eh?
It is.
Chub.
Chub, do you reckon? Hasn't come into
Nice
the
fish.
hasn't come into the bank like you'd expect. Actually, I don't think it's... I'm beginning to get a bit more excited. What's your... Oh, it's a bream.
It's a bream.
It's a bream.
Unbelievable.
It's a fine, fat bream. Oh!
Believe it. I feel so sorry for John having lost that big bream. It's what a fish to have seen. It was a lovely fish too. It's just been one of those days for him, I think.
Andy!
Fish on. I'm coming, Mr. Bailey.
Bless you.
What have you got this time?
I haven't got a clue.
I think this is a nice fish, isn't it?
Oh, it's a nice fish.
So they've been
I'm
teasing
bound
you.
to lose it.
No,
Sorry,
you
go
won't
on.
lose it. They've been teasing you
What
all
is it?
day. Oh, it's a lovely chub.
If it's a chub, you know, it's a big one.
Yeah, it looked a big fish. That's a lovely chub. I think you've got him beat, sir. Look, right in the scissors. Look, it's just in his lip.
Shut up!
Oh, no.
Okay.
He's ours. Now that is worth every single second we fished. What a lovely fish.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
That's brilliant. What a way to finish the day, eh? Last knockings, classic, river Itchen chub, scale perfect.
You made an old man very happy.
I knew you'd do this to me. I felt sorry for you until you did that to me. It's a lovely fish to finish the day with, wasn't it?
I was just so relieved that fish stayed on. You know, I drove home on a cloud after landing that.
And you could see, you know, in the film that was just barely hooked as well. It was only just in the lip, wasn't it? Oh. You enjoyed the day, presumably?
I loved it. Absolutely loved it. It was right up my street.
Brilliant.
Perfect.
Welcome back. Before the break, you saw the pair of us fishing on the River Itchen in some, shall we say, interesting weather conditions. So I just wanted to go back and chat about the floats we were both using. John, if I can just pick this one up. This is what you were using. What's your sort of thinking behind the way that this presents a bait in those conditions?
I just love these floats. I just love I love the body. I don't think... what I'm trying to say is I just think it holds back against the current nicely. I noticed you were catching fish by letting it go completely with the flow, whereas I was holding back a little bit more. I think the carbon stem just gives it a bit of stability in water like that. Obviously, it's fish top and bottom, as you'd expect. It takes probably about 3 or 4 BB, which I guess is probably about the right amount of shot.
I think what was really interesting, if I just pick up the one that I was using on the day, this is a sort of a less traditional, not a handmade float, but it still sort of has a nod to the old traditions.
Yeah, I don't object to him.
And I was actually, like you say, running it at the fish as fast as I possibly could so that they would take it under. And I think it's interesting that at the end of the day, when you caught that lovely chub, the tactic of holding the bait back in the weir pool was probably what did the damage, I reckon.
I guess you're right, and I think that probably I was happier, I was more in my comfort zone, if you like, holding the float, holding it back, than just letting it go with the flow like you were doing, and probably that's where I slipped up, I think, in the morning. But then again, you know, I didn't know the water, I didn't have the confidence in the swims. You fished there before. And seeing is believing in a way.
I did put you in all the best swims, Maestro, I promise.
Every time I felt I was just getting within a shout of a Grayling, of course, you were, fish on, fish on. But it was a fascinating day for me.
Really was good, wasn't it?
Yeah.
At this time in the show, Keith normally gives you a rundown of the prospects for this weekend's fishing. Just like Dean Macy did last week, I'm not going to try and do that, but I do want to talk about what I'm planning to do this weekend, which is to head back to the River Itchen with a fly rod to try and catch some more of those lovely grayling. We were talking about the river conditions and the colour in the water. I think the water's dropped, the colour rather has dropped out of the water a little bit. The colour, the tactics, pink, red or orange seems to work best for those grayling. Check nymphing with a fly rod, fishing a duo, so 2 flies or 3 flies, one of them really heavy, to try and get the cast down to where those fish are feeding. It's not just about fly fishing though. I mean, you know, you caught that fantastic chub. It is a great time of year for chub and barbel and of course roach, isn't it?
Oh, everything's really on at this time of the year. We've still got daytime temperatures of 10, 11 degrees, no frost. It's probably one of my favourite times of the year, to be honest.
Mine too. Just have a little quick look at my my selection of flies that I'll be taking with me this weekend. You'll notice that the predominant colour is pink and orange. I'm afraid to say, Mr. Bailey, I've developed a new obsession, which is fly tying. I can't promise to be very good at it, but here's one of the flies that I know has been working, and I've actually just ripped off another fly. This is an exact copy of something I know works. So it's a little pheasant-tailed nymph with a bit of green dubbing and an orange hothead with a tungsten bead. What do you reckon?
I like it. You tied this yourself?
I'm afraid to say I did, yeah.
Oh, I'm very, very, very impressed. I like it. I like the bead because, of course, that gives it the weight to get down, which you obviously need. I love the little flash of colour, which, again, you know, going back to that attractor, that hint of shrimp about it. And then, of course, the beautiful mottled green body. Well done, sir. 10 out of 10.
We'll see if it catches a fish for us. I know you're going to be doing a bit of stillwater predator fishing this weekend. So, is that pike and perch? What's the sort of the tactics that you're approaching?
I've got some guys coming up to fish with me, Andy, and I think probably I'm going to kick off with a serious perch match. And my #1 technique is probably get them to pile in maggots. So there's a real curtain of maggots going down. And then once you really get the swim boiling with silverfish, the big perch begin to sort of take notice and just drift out from those little holes in the bank that they like or under trees. And then for me, probably the number one approach would be a big lobworm, or 2 lobworms even, on say a size 6 hook, probably no shot on the line, under a waggler, something like that, just floating down the water column.
Oh, brilliant day. Can I come?
Don't strike too early. Just wait for that float to really go away and for the line to follow it.
And then what
Big
about the
perch.
pike? What's happening with the pike fishing? That's the Sunday, I suppose.
I'm a great one for lure fishing, and I think the modern lures that we've got in this day and age are absolutely fantastic. But you're
Yes.
going to reveal the secret shame I can see.
Look at this thing. Now, just talk us through, that's one heck of a pike float.
It's another Andrew Field creation, and it's called John Bailey's Jack Action float. And this is a near certainty, it's more than a belief of mine, that a lot of very big pike in our waters exist beneath the radar, and that's because they're cannibals. And they're eating small fish, small jacks. And so whenever I come across a dead jack, for whatever reason, I wouldn't kill them obviously, but if I come across a dead jack, I'll freeze it, and then I'll use it as a bait whenever the situation demands. And so a small jack needs a float to go with it, and I've used this on several occasions, and it's actually caught me fish to 28 pounds.
I'll tell you
So
what,
I'm very proud of it.
if this thing goes
it's a
under...
talking point. It's a bit Jaws-like, isn't it? Get me a
Certainly
bigger
is.
boat when that goes. Your heart really.
Well, that's it for today, but remember you can stay in touch with the show via the website and Twitter. Please keep any comments and those young angler photos coming in on email too. Thanks, John. It's been great to have you here. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much.
Keith is going to be back next Friday when his guest will be England international sea angler Ray Barron. Ray's a member of the boat team that won gold at this year's World Championships. Join them at 7 p.m. on Sky Sports 3. That's sea fishing and more, next week with Keith, 7 o'clock on Sky Sports 3. Remember, the show's also available on demand every week too. Find it in the Sky Sports section of Catch Up. And before then, you can see the next episode of Fishing in the Footsteps of Mr. Crabtree, with John Bailey, of course. That's on Monday at 5 o'clock on Sky Sports 3. So good luck if you are out on the bank in the next few days, and tight lines. Thanks, mate.
Enjoy Sky Sports Live. On all screens, on the go, and the best bits on demand.